again. No, wait. Wait. No, you cannot see it, right? You cannot see it, no?
Yeah.
You wait. You wait.
Share it. Maybe go to share.
Yeah, I know. I have to put it in the share mode.
Nice music. Sparkling.
Hey, wait. How do I share again, sir? How do I share again?
Move your mouse
Ah, yes.
and to
All right.
maybe the bottom. Okay.
Okay. Let me start it again. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Please. Oh, animation. Yeah, clearly you can see sun is coming very brightly. Oh, something. It works. Wastes. Accumulated in the Europe region. Cars, motor vehicles has come up. More waste. Oh, look at the temperature. Almost hit the top. About not much. Oh, holy smoke. Greenhouse effects.
You pay attention to the thermometer on the right side.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, so hot. Oh, aha. Observation. Oh, this cycle. So we can use the waste as the input by recycling.
Okay, so what can you learn from this, Alex? What are the reasons why we are having climate change? Yesterday we talked about sea level rise. We talked about acidification of the water streams. We talk about either very strong typhoons or drought. No, these are some of the facts. But in this animation, what are the reasons in the urban areas why there is climate change? Why is so hot in the urban areas?
One is the emission from the factories, because there
Right.
is
Very good.
too much
Good.
emission of the greenhouse gas from the
Very good.
factory, and the second one is from the vehicles, the cars people use in the cities.
Yeah.
So
Very
when
good.
they meet, they accumulate the waste.
More carbon dioxide.
Side, yes.
And
But
chloroplast.
yeah, after when they start the recycling it and they start using the clean gas, then the life start regaining.
Yeah.
It,
So what you are doing now to solve it is to have a greener recycling, repair some of the materials, and perhaps inventing inventions of green cars are already done in Japan. There is already a Prius. No, okay. All right, now I'd like to start with some of the basic things in doing research. I really don't know your background in doing research, but I did not want to be very technical about it, but I give you a background first on the quanti and the quali part, okay?
Okay.
Right, and then what I want to do is share, right?
Yes,
Share. All right, I start first with Quanti research design. All right. I have prepared a lot for you to. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Can you see it? All right.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to put it on a slideshow so it will be bigger. Okay, there are two datas when you do research, quanti and quali. Quanti, the data is in the number. Quali are in terms of words or text, no? So datas can be in form of a number, or they can be in a form of words or interviews, no, and so forth. Those are data as well, no? But we start with quantitative research design. And I'm going to discuss only two methods. The method are survey and social experiment. When you go back, you can do survey, but I'll give you only the basic things about what it is like to do a survey. And then as a agricultural science, you are in agribusiness before, right? That's your degree. What's your
Agriculture science, just general agriculture.
agricultural science? You do a
Yes.
lot of experiments in agricultural science, right? Do
Yes.
you? Yes.
Yeah,
So you're familiar with some of this. Okay. When you do research, there are only three things when you do survey, right? Measuring, measurement, meaning what is the measurement from one point to other point, or how long a table is, or how long should the plant, how high is the plant, that's measurement, all right? And the width of the leaves, the width of the size of the palay seeds or the rice seeds, those are measurement. Now, sampling is the second important thing when you do survey. You cannot do statistical analysis unless you do probability sampling. There are two kinds of sampling, probability and non-probability. Sampling means to say that every element in the population have equal chance of being selected, meaning there is no bias. That is the meaning of sampling. And then after, so the first one is measurement. Second one is sampling. Which plant are you going to sample? Is it every third seed or every other seed? No, that is sampling. No, or you count 1 to 10, I'm going to sample the 10th plant, then the next 10th plant, that is sampling. After that, if it involves people and, you know, in doing, then you have to design the questionnaire. In a survey, there is a questionnaire that these are lists of questions that you ask your respondents, you know, to answer. And their answers is your data. Their answers will be translated into numbers so you can do statistical analysis. And it is also important that you administer. So when you do survey research, there are three things that you should understand. Measurement, learn how to sample, and learn how to design your questionnaire. Okay, very simple as that. Those are the three things. This is being taught for several years, not just one semester in the university. I'm teaching it to you in 1 hour, no, or so, all right? Okay, so what is the nature of a survey? It is so structured and it is systematic set of data. Data is important in doing science. Data in quantitative, they're called variable. What is the meaning of a variable? I'll give you an example. You listen to what I'm saying because I cannot put them all in the slide. We vary. Each person vary in terms of our height. So height is a variable because each person has different height. Same thing with plants. They also vary in sizes, in the color. No, they vary. The color of the leaves, the amount of sunlight they receive varies from one plant to the next, all right? The amount of fertilizer that one needs, you know, vary from one plant to plant. So the amount of fertilizer, the height of the plant, the color of the leaves, the amount of sunlight are examples of variable, right? Variable, they vary. So they are actually comparing those variable, for example, plants that receive a lot of, that grow in the field, compared it to the plants that grow in the greenhouses. You compare them. So they vary in the amount of sunlight. Those that grow in the field and that grow in the greenhouses. Now you compare both, that's the meaning of comparison here. You compare the growth of those plants that are in the field and the plants that are grown in greenhouse gases. You see? And then measure again, measure the height, the color of the leaves, and so forth. And if we say that they are different, then that is a data that you have collected. That is quantitative. Usually, what you do is a rectangular set of data, no? And you have to understand what is your unit of analysis. It is vegetable. Our egg, is it eggplant? Is it rice? Is it or a different kind of vegetable? No, right? You have to define that unit of analysis. So as I mentioned to you, I repeat in the introduction, in the title page, there are three important aspects of the overall design of survey research. One is measurement. Second is sampling. The third is questionnaire design and administration. So I'm going to walk I will walk through with you in all of these three important aspects. Very simple. And please interrupt me. You raise your hand if you have some clarification. You do like this so that I'll stop and give you a chance to ask your question. Is this clear enough?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Okay, I am not an agriculturist, you know, I am a sociologist. I don't deal with plants, but I tried to get slides that would be familiar to both of you because you are in agriculture. I don't deal with plants, I deal with people, but I try to come up with a presentation that would be familiar to you. So what are your unit of analysis here? It can be the farmers. So you ask the farmers who are planting rice. If you are a different one, your unit analysis can also be the rice themselves. That can be, rice is a unit of analysis. That is what you are studying. Another one is you're studying the rice farmers. Then your unit of analysis may be also fields. One field to another field to another field. So you can have a low-lying upland field and lowland field. That is your unit of analysis. So unit of analysis can be people, rice farmers, can be the rice itself, and the third one would be the type of farm. Is it upland or lowland? That is your unit of analysis. So you have to determine what you wanted to measure right at the very start when you are doing research. Clear?
Yes.
Is it clear, Alex?
Yeah, it is clear.
Okay. So for example, in this particular database, there are some survey database that has been done, you know, at International Rice Research Institute. What do you mean by database? You don't have to collect data all the time. You can put the data that you have collected over a period of time and put them in a bank. They call them data bank, no? It's a collection of farm label data sets on rice productivity, fertilizer, pesticide use, labor inputs, prices, income, demographics, and it can also be farm characteristics and other related data on rice production in farmers' field. So what does the data consist? It consists of rice productivity, fertilizers use, pesticide, labor inputs. How many people are used in order to produce one season of harvest? The prices, which is Professor Kamiyama is very familiar because he's an economist, and income. Demographics, meaning the age of the farmers, the number of members the number of children he has, what you call family size. What is the characteristics of their farm? Is it a small scale farm or a large scale farm? Are they tenant or are they farm owners? Those are farm characteristics. Is it, as I said, is it a lowland? Is it irrigated or rain fed? That is a farm characteristic, no? and other related areas on rice. That is the data they are collecting, and they call them database. No, and you can source that out there. You can click it, no, and you can find some of them. It is very rich collection of actual farm household level data. So their unit of analysis is household. Household, farm household. The household of the farmer collected. How did they collect it? They collected it through interviewing farmers. Personal, they went to the farmer's household and interviewed the farmer. They also use farm record keeping. Do they have a list of records that they keep, that the farmers, that you cannot get from the interview? So you ask it from them, a document that they have, the kind of fertilizer, how much fertilizers that they use, and so forth, if they have record keeping. And periodic monitoring of farm, wherein they observe how the farmers work, throughout the season. So they do three things. They interview the farmer, they look at some of the diaries of the farmers in terms of its farming, how much he owes, the accounting that he gets. And the third data they're getting is observation. They observe while the farmer is working. So those are the three data collection. So you do not only ask questions when you do research, you look at the documents, existing records. It can be in a form of a diary. It can be form of a notes that the farmer keep, a list of things that he does, which he writes, or maybe, I don't know if he writes it or not. And then perhaps the third important data that they collect is through observation. They monitor the farm activities from land preparation, through preparation of the seedlings, to harvesting, to planting, to fertilizer use, pesticide use, until the harvesting, in different rice growing countries of Asia. So they don't only do it in the Philippines, but all over the Asia. Right, this is done by the Social Science Division of the Agri-Food with NARES partners in various parts of Asia. They are output of various research projects undertaken by the Agri-Food Valleys and hence made available. You can actually use them to interested users and compare it perhaps to Africa. You can just ask permission for them. So you don't have to collect data all the time. You may want to compare Asian farming practices, that's one research, to that of Africa. Rice farmers' practices. Now let's go to the first one. So that's just an introduction of data that has been collected. What is the first aspect? Important aspect is measurement. When you talk about measurement, you talk about concepts. I don't know what concepts that you have. Fertilizer is a concept. Pesticide use is a concept, but you have to operationalize it, meaning you cannot measure fertilizer if you cannot make it into something that is quantifiable. So let's say, for example, fertilizer. How will you measure fertilizer? That is operationalization of concept. How will you measure fertilizer? You measure it in terms of the amount, in terms of millimeters of fertilizers that they spray. That then you have a number there. That is fertilizer use. You change concept fertilizer use, which is a concept, you change it into a number. Fertilizer use is equal to 50 millimeters per row of plants. So that is measurable already. So you are now measuring the fertilizer use. It's easy in terms of harvest. How many kabans or how many tons of rice, then that is measurable. If this is the amount of seedlings that I have planted, the number of seedlings is again measurable. How many will it produce in terms of number of tons of rice, no? Or pounds of rice? Then it is measurable. You have to have measure. And when you talk about measure, it is operationalizing those concepts. So aside from give me another concepts that you agriculturists use. Fertilizer, what else? Pesticides, what else? Land preparation is also a concept. What else is a concept? Loans, agricultural loans is a concept. What else? Give me and more, Alex.
Labor, also the labor is the amount of labor you use in the production
Yes.
is a concept.
We don't call it amount of hours. It's hours spent in planting, in land preparation, hours that the farmers spend in land preparation, or amount of time spent by the farmer in the land preparation or all in the process of production. So it's not, you have to chop it a little bit more. You have to say amount of time, then that is measurable. Amount of time, or to be more precise, number of hours spent in land preparation. For example, we spent 5 days in land preparation, and for each day, he spent about 4 hours. So 5 times 4 will be 20 hours devoted to land preparation. That is a data. That is a measure. What is the concept? Amount of time spent in land preparation. That is the
land preparation.
Yes. And you translate it into a number, which is what? Number of hours spent in land preparation. So this what can, today I'm going to give you some examples of measurement. We will talk about satisfaction of farmers. Are farmers satisfied with what they are doing? Ignore this because this is a different one. That is a good research question. In other words, what you wanted to understand is, are they happy? Are they satisfied being a farmer? So now we are gonna measure that. No? How do we measure satisfaction? So this is the satisfaction measurement that you can use. This is for employees, but we can change that into, I'm going to help you change it to make it, what are the measures of satisfaction of a farmer? We will change this. What do you think? Where are the measures of satisfaction?
Maybe the first one is the amount of output they produce.
Right, the amount of yield.
Yeah.
Amount of yield. Okay. What else is the source of satisfaction? Enough food, right? Enough food for their family. What else is the source of satisfaction? Relationship with co-farmers. Are they friends with their co-farmers? Relationship with co-farmers. Don't you think so? Okay, that will make me happy. If I'm always fighting with the other farmers, then it's not good. Right.
Yeah.
What else is the source of satisfaction for farmer?
The relationship between the farmers and also the laborer was
Oh, very good. Relationship of farmers and hard laborers. What do you think? What else? What makes a farmer happy? Enough food for the family, amount of yield, income, right? Amount income,
income realized from the
farming. Okay, what else is a source of satisfaction? Relationship of the farmer with the family, no? So you have so many relationships, no? With his wife, with his children. Relationship of farmer with his
family.
family, and so forth and so on. Family and relatives.
Tips.
Okay, so you think that this is what makes a farmer happy? Yes. Now we're gonna measure that. Okay. We will be I'll delete this. Delete this slides because it's now how are you going to do that? No, measure of word satisfaction can be using a 7-point scale. 1 is I am least satisfying. I am extremely dissatisfied. 7 is the most satisfying. So how do you do it? Right? How do we do it? No? Okay. So from this one, we will make statements. No? Statements. Right. So what will you tell? What are we going to, what kind of statement can we tell about amount of yield? Right. In terms of amount of yield, I will not finish everything, but I will give you just a statement. So what is the kind of statement that we can ask the farmer? Do not ask, but it's a statement. Uh, my produce is more than enough, is more than enough or is of my produce are good quality. Meaning to say they're good quality, meaning to say better than the other farmers. Then he's going to answer this. I am extremely dissatisfied. They are not of good quality. So in other words, he doesn't agree with that statement. So you come up with what? A statement for each, you come up with a statement for each one of these, and then ask them in a 7-point scale if they are satisfied or not. That is a data that you're going to get. So if they are dissatisfied, that number will be 1 if that is what they will answer based on that statement. For example, in this statement, the farmer says that number 3. What is number 3 here? Number 3 is I'm moderately dissatisfied. So that is his answer. This is his answer. You assign a number. The number is 3. And this is measuring. Okay? What are these? These are our what?
Measurement.
This is
Measures.
how we operationalize satisfaction. These are what we use to operationalize satisfaction. Then we make statement for each of these and then ask them their level of satisfaction.
Yes.
Okay, and that is what you will do, right? My wife and my are always in good terms, meaning we do not fight. No, we only fight once a month, or not. We don't fight at all. Okay, so that's what we will answer based on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I will also delete this because I forgot to delete it. Right now, so what we are studying is the satisfaction of a sample of Filipino farmers. We're going to do a sample, not all farmers. Okay?
Yeah, right.
So what is your objective? You wanted to examine the satisfaction of the Filipino farmers.
Yes.
Okay. So that is your research. That is what you wanted to find out. We already measure satisfaction using this. This is how we measure satisfaction.
So,
Satisfaction is a concept. It cannot be measured as it is. You have to come up with some indicators to measure satisfaction. So I ask you, what makes a farmer happy? Maybe he's happy when he has a lot of produce. There is food that he gives to his family. He's happy when he's not quarreling with his co-farmers. Right? He's happy when they do not fight with the hard labors. He's happy when he's satisfied when he has enough income from farming, and so on and so on. That is what we meant by satisfaction. So going back to this is we try to examine the satisfaction of the Filipino farmers. So in general, we are evaluating or assessing the person's satisfaction. Okay, let me change it. Farmer satisfaction. So what were we doing? It is a pleasurable. So what is satisfaction? According to these authors, this is how they define it. It is a pleasurable emotional state resulting from appraisal of one's job as achieving or facilitating the achievement of one's job values. It's very vague. But meaning you're happy, meaning you are happy being a farmer, right? So what you do is, in Filipino, you do it this way. Aside from the one that I have given you, this is a different scale. Completely satisfied, very satisfied. This time, it is reverse. The smaller the number is, the more satisfied he is. Very satisfied, and so on. So how do you show it? You give them using show card. How satisfied are you in farming, So that is what you're gonna ask them. How satisfied are you in farming? Are you happy? Right? Neither satisfied. This time you have 8. You can have different scale. Now, other than that, you have to have a framework. No? A framework looks like this. Satisfaction is what you wanted to find out. So you wanted to find out the values, the work values that they do, and some of the rewards that they are getting of being a farmer. One of them can be what? Income, right? Income is a reward. What about work values? What is so important of them being a farmer? What makes it so important for them? Because it gives them food, it makes them what? And so forth. What are the things that are important? You list them down. Then, aside from that, do they differ in terms of their sex? Are women farmers more satisfied than male farmers? Are younger farmers more satisfied than older farmers? Do farmers with higher education more satisfied than farmers with low education? So those are some of the specific questions you will be asking. Are farmers who own the land more satisfied than those who do not own their land? Those are the socio-demographic characteristics. So you are comparing. Did you get it, Alex? All right.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you can also compare. These are variables. Remember, we're talking about variable before?
Yes.
Are married farmers more satisfied than single farmers? Are farmers with bigger household more satisfied with farmers with small number of household? Are farmers with no children or few children more satisfied than farmers with many children? Are farmers satisfied? What about homework conflict? Are they actually quarreling, fighting with their family in relation to farming? And other work-related factors. You may wanted to look at how satisfaction affects climate change, right? We talk about climate change. How does they affect? How do they affect? How are farmers affected by climate change? How are farmers' satisfaction affected by climate change? How are farmers' satisfaction affected by farm inputs? What are farm inputs? Fertilizer, pesticides, and so forth and so on. And how are farmers affected to some of the illnesses, farm-related illnesses? What are the common illnesses of farmers, Alex?
Mostly fatigue, because you of overworking, you can feel fatigue.
No, it's not an illness. Well, fatigue, in all work have fatigue. I think usually it's tuberculosis, disease of the lungs, no? Then they also have what you call, if your feet are always soaked with water, right? They also can have a lot of, diseases of the lymph nodes and so forth and so on. So these are some of the illnesses that farmers have, isn't it? Can they affect their satisfaction? Yes. So all of these things are affecting the satisfaction of the farmers. It is affecting the satisfaction of the farmers. No? Okay, these are the structural background variables. Because satisfaction is social psychological, what are the social psychological factors affecting satisfaction of farmers? What are the structural background variables affecting the satisfaction of the farmers? So if you're going back to this one, we are going to add more specific objectives. So what are the specific objectives that we can add? What? I want it to be interactive. So what is the specific objective? What are the social, psychological factors affecting farmers' satisfaction. Right. Right? Then that is a specific objective aside from this. The other one is, give it to me.
The structural, no? The structural
background, structural background variables. These are the ones. Okay? So we form that into a question again. All right? What is that question again? Give it to me. Dictate it to me, please.
So like now it's like form is like what are the structural
background? Ah, wow.
Background affecting.
Wow. Wow. Check on tricycle. Wow. Sorry for about that. So these are the ones that you come up. So under that, you can put there what? Based on our framework, what can we put here? What can we put? Work values and rewards. So we will put it here. Okay? I want you to see how we do it, research. You may not be an expert in doing research after this, but at least you understand what it meant, no? Okay, so where is that? So what do we put here under? Okay, under that we have
rewards.
What are the work values of farmers affecting their works, their satisfaction? Okay, see, this is what we are doing. What is the next one? What are the rewards? Right?
Yes,
rewards.
Yes.
What are the rewards of farmers affecting their satisfaction? Let us cut this so that we can put it in the other slide. Okay, so under that, what are we going to say? What are the, here, if you go back to this one.
The demographic.
Socio-demographic characteristics. This one, the socio-demographic characteristics. All right. Right. Okay, so what are we going to put here?
So what are the
socio-demographic? What are the socio-demographic characteristics of farmers that that are affecting their satisfaction. Okay, do you see how we are doing it? Is it clear? Okay, then we come back again. What else is another specific question? What is another specific question? What is the position in the family
life cycle? Yeah.
And then you know these are the things that you will be asking, right? So we come back again here. what are the family cycle variables affecting satisfaction of farmers? And lastly, what are we going to ask? What else are we going to ask? Other role-related one.
Yeah,
Right. Okay, now we're going to ask, what are other work-related factors affecting satisfaction of farmers? Okay, so those are the questions that you wanted to find out. You have to find answers for each one. So your general question is this. This is your general question. To examine satisfaction of the Filipino farmers. This is your first objective. What are the socio-psychological factors? This is your first specific objective. Okay? That is your first specific objective. This is actually A under that, and then this is B. All right? And then we move on to the next one. This is your second specific research question. Second, under that, you have A, you have B, and you have C. But what we wanted to find in general? Examine the general satisfaction. Under that, you have two specific questions. And each of the specific questions, you have that. Where did we get that? From our framework. Did you get it?
Yes.
Did you get it, Alex?
Yes,
Yeah,
I got it.
that is how to do it. Right, that is measurement. Okay? From the measurement, we were able to what? We were able to, from the measurement, we were able to define our research question very well. Research question is satisfaction. No? Research question is important. Why is it important? A research question that is well formulated is a research that is already half answered. Because if you do not know what you are looking for, you cannot do research. That is very basic. You have to understand what is your research question. Because if you cannot understand what you wanted to find out, then you cannot go through. Now you know what you wanted to find out, right? You measure them through your conceptual framework and through operationalizing by making statement using Likert scale. Okay? Did you get it?
Yes.
It is so important because you are already halfway doing research if you have a very good research questions. Okay? Clear?
Yeah.
But, all right. The first one is measurement. We are done with it. And the measurement help us to formulate our research question. Okay, I tied it up together and you saw the process. What is the second important aspect of survey?
Sampling.
Sampling. So we go now to sampling. Okay, sampling. All right. This is sampling. Okay. We are now on the second aspect. Remember, we are now on the second aspect. Right. So you have to have what? For the theory, you wanted to sample all farmers. That is your universe. All farmers in the Philippines. In your case, all farmers in South Sudan. But you cannot do everything because it's not practical. So what is practical and accessible to you is you only wanted to get farmers in 2 municipalities or in 2 rural areas in South Sudan. In my case, in the Philippines. So that is the theory, that is the practicality, then your sampling method. You sample either probability or non-probability.
Probability.
Right. What is this? Have you seen this before?
The normal curve.
Have you seen it before in your college days? Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it.
All right. What does it tell us? It tells us that the people from this 34% below, and this one are 68% are normal. That is 95% in terms of IQ. So all over the world, the people who are supposed to have a normal IQ is supposed to be about 68%. Those who have above average IQ is 14%. That's about +2, +1. +2 is 1.9%, and then +3 is 0.%. What about the abnormal one? Those who are not good, those who are not intelligent. The same, 14, 1.9 and 0.1%. Right, so that the normal one is 100. If you have a nice IQ score of 115, then you belong to 115 to 130, you belong to the 14% above average, okay, and so forth. But if you have an IQ from 145 and above, you just belong to the 1% of universal population, and so forth and so on. Now that is very important when you do sampling. Okay. Right. These are different kinds of sample. Right. First, you have the simple random. All cases have equal probability of being selected. Like, for example, use computer to generate. How do you get random sample? You use computer to generate 10 random numbers between 1 to 100. Systematic sample, you get every 9th place is selected starting with a specific area. So you may say every 4th worker in a factory starting with the 3rd worker in the 1st factory. Then you have the stratified structured random, equal, and proportional. You can read this. This is the definition. How do you do it? The population is split between manual and non-manual. In your case, you can split it between rain-fed farmers and irrigated farmers. Then you split it. Then you get same amount of rain-fed farmers with irrigated farmers. Then you can have random sampling for both. Okay? You can split that. You call that stratified. Why do you do that? Because you do sometimes stratified, because sometimes even if you do simple random, you might only get all farmers that are rain-fed farmers, so that you may not be able to get those that are having irrigated farmers. So when you stratify, you make sure that you proportionate. You get farmers that are irrigated and you get farmers that are non-irrigated. Or you get farmers that are vegetable and you can get farmers that are staple crop farmers. Or how else are stratification? You get flood-prone areas of farmers and non-flood-prone areas farmers. So you have you group them into their characteristics so that you can get enough number of farmers in that area. You may not be doing this in survey because in survey, you do not do non-probability sampling. But these are important, you know, when you do, these are very important when you do qualitative sampling. What are they? You have homogeneous or convenient, judgmental and accidental, structural sample, heterogeneous, and quota sample. These are some of the definition and example on how to do it. Okay, so that's sampling. What is the third aspect?
Questionnaires, designs, and administration.
All right, the third aspect is questionnaire design and administration. So the questionnaire design context is like this. Do you have any questions so far on the two? Measurement, we discussed measurement and sampling. Do you have any question? Before we proceed, do you have some clarifications that you wanted for me to elaborate further?
Maybe about non-probability, yes, in the sampling.
You cannot use this when you do a survey. I only presented this. You cannot do a statistical analysis if it is not probability.
Okay.
Okay, but I use it. I presented it to you so that you will, when we do qualitative, we can go back to this one. But there's no statistical analysis if your sample is not probability. You have to understand that. You cannot do statistical analysis if you don't have that. And I think you are interested in this because you don't have statistical package, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll discuss that later with you.
All right.
But you can do questionnaire design context. No? It is where the research takes place, the knowledge and skill of the respondent. You have to consider what questions will I ask? If they are not educated, do not make it too complicated, the questions. You have to understand the knowledge and skill of the respondents. The context in which the researcher takes place. In other words, is it in very rural areas? Is it in a conflict areas that anything that you ask somebody may kill them? You know, you are a researcher in the field and then there is an enemy, right? If they answered wrong, they will kill both of you. So the context of the researcher that take place, you have to understand that. The time and resources available. Farmers usually don't have time. So when is the best time for you to interview farmers? They go up, they are early in the farm, as early as 4 o'clock, right? So the best time for them is not during having siesta, but maybe nighttime or weekend, no? All right. You cannot interview them while they are working or during their work hours. Maybe if they come back at 10 o'clock in the morning, then well and good. You can interview them for that, no? Okay. All right, is that clear enough for you?
Okay. It's
All
clear.
right. Okay. Next. All right, how do you designing questions? You have to consider your objectives, the one that we have given before. For each of them, you have to have statements. The amount of information that the farmers can give you, and the likely structure of the respondents' ideas and concept. Sometimes they said, I don't want to answer. The motivation, they refuse you. Do not force them. Do not force them. And then prior knowledge of the population under study. What do they know? Then you have to have informed consent and so forth and so on. how do you design a question? You can have direct numerical answers. How old are you? That's direct, right? Direct. How old are you? What else is direct? How many children do you have? That is a direct answer. How do you own? Then you can have a yes or no answer. Do you own this farm? Yes or no? That's another question you can ask in the demographic variables. Are you married? Yes and no, right? Then you can have multiple choice clause, but you can also have this. The one that I showed you is a Likert scale, right? It's not in a form of a question, but they are in a statement. So in each statement, the respondents agree or disagree. So what are some of the examples of closed question? How tall are you? Two-way category questions, meaning to say it's yes or no. What else? Give me another question for the farmer that is answerable by yes or no. Alex.
Maybe ask about the ownership of land. Whether is it renting or is the owner? Yes or no? About
All right, that's one. What else? Do they rent it or they own it? What else? Yeah. Yes or no?
Yeah. And then,
what else? What other questions that you can ask that are answerable with yes or no?
yeah, you can ask about the marital status. Whether is married or not
I
married.
gave that already. Give me another example, your own. Do they have loans? Isn't it? Do they have loans? Loans meaning, do they borrow money? Yes or no? Then you can elaborate that later on, no? Then you can ask how much. Then that is a direct question. First, you ask them, do you have loans? Or do you borrow money every time you prepare for land? Yes or no? If yes, then you ask, direct question. If yes, then you ask the direct question. Direct question is, how much do you own? How much do you owe? Okay, give me another question. Yes or no? Direct question. How much do you pay your laborers per day? That's a direct question, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's a direct question. How much do you pay your laborers each day? That's a direct question. Okay, give me another two-way question. In terms of laborers, do you give them food when they work with you? Yes or no? Isn't it? Those are the questions that you can ask. Okay, give me your own questions. You are an agricultural scientist. I'm not. I'm not in agriculture, but I can ask a lot of questions.
But those are social questions. They are social questions. Because like you can ask
I
about.
don't want you to have social questions. I want you to have a question in agriculture because you are in agriculture. What else can be answered by yes and no?
Like you can ask about the farmer, whether he owned the machinery or machinery.
Yeah, very good, very good. Right? Do they use machinery in land preparation? Yes or no? Then ask me a direct question on machinery. Ask me a direct question on machinery.
Like direct much, how much do you use how much fuel do you use per hectare?
Yes. So if they said that I use machinery, do you use machinery? Yes. Then you ask, how much fuel do you use for each machine? Okay. Or else, what kind of machine? That's a direct question.
So,
where is it made of? Another direct question is, how did you get that machine? That is a question too. Is it being rented or do they own it? That's also a direct question.
Sure.
Okay?
All
Did
right.
you understand? All right, now let's have multiple choice questions. Not, this is an extension of a two-way question. So you can say here, what is an example here? So let us end it. So this one, you can have an example of them is what? As we said, do you use machinery in
Land preparation.
preparation? Okay, then we extend that. What can we ask? Multiple choice.
Maybe we ask the type of machinery they
All right.
use.
The machine is, type of machine they couldn't understand. The machine is A, you can say rented. This is how it looks like. And it's a multiple choice. So in other words, what do? You just check. You just check. Did you understand? You just check. That is a multiple choice.
Yes.
Own. Okay. Then you give me another one. Fuel use in land preparation. Then you can have a choice again. What is the choice? You can have A, what?
Maybe
Gasoline.
gasoline.
And then the other one is B,
Maybe
diesel.
diesel.
Okay, so what they do is just check. Okay, those are multiple types of questionnaire. See, I cannot give everything to you, right? So this is the other one, the scale that we've been talking about, Likert scale. This time they are form of a statements, no? Now you can also have these variables. This one I have it for diseases. So we can change it, no? Number of
Animal deaths.
animal, very good. Okay, animal deaths. Number of animal deaths. Okay, cause of treatment, length of treatment, types of disease. Okay, so what are the different causes of animal death? What are the diseases of animals that we can think of?
Anthrax.
Huh?
Anthrax.
Anthrax.
Yeah.
That one? That one?
Yes. Yeah.
What else? What else are the diseases of animals? You can use this matrix too, you know?
Yeah.
And you can list as many.
Mouth and foot disease. There's mouth and foot disease.
Yeah. They can be drowning, no? Food and mouth.
Yes.
Yeah. What else can it be? Lack of food. Why do they die?
Lack of pasture. If there's lack of pasture, also animal can die when there's a lack of pasture.
pasture. Very good. Very good. Now you're thinking, okay, what else? Why do they die? Were they killed? And so forth and so on. So what do you do? How many were killed annually due to anthrax? Then you can put here
The number, maybe, yes.
how many were killed in a year, how many were killed year, and so forth and so on. Then you can have this, and then the cost of treatment if they did not die. If they did not die, how much did it cost you to treat this? But of course, this one you cannot treat because they die already.
Yeah.
So yes, and so forth and so on. Did you see that? You can fill it up. Then these are numbers already. Okay? What do you call this? Matrix. Yeah. Very good. Now you help me in doing this. Very good. This is a sample questionnaire. I don't know if you can read it, but you say number, age, sex. This is how you can do it. How often do you eat vegetables? All right. The other one is, do you have, that is what? These are multiple choice.
Yes.
You say every day, occasionally, often, and very often. Do you eat vegetable? That is yes and no answer. How often is a multiple choice. Do you like to eat bread? Yes or no again. And how often do you eat bread? And so forth and so on. These are some of the, so it looks neat, right? I just wanted you to see the format.
All right.
All right, so I have taught you three things. One is what? The first one.
This is a measurement.
Second.
Sampling.
Then.
This questionnaire, design, and administration.
Yes, very good. Now you analyze it. How do you analyze those questions? All right, these are some of the analysis. Aim to draw causal inferences. Maybe Professor Kameyama can do that for you already, okay? But what I wanted to show you is this one. Relationship between between the variables, what you call it, you do, the very first thing that you do is do correlational survey, no? Correlational survey is you have to have a dependent and an independent variables. In other words, for correlational survey, okay, I will illustrate it. New slides. Okay, I am going to show you how okay, this is my dependent variable, DB, all right? This is my independent variable, right? What is the one that we wanted to answer? Satisfaction. How do we answer it? What are the different variables? Work values. It's a social psychological variables, right? You just put your social psychological. Social psychological variables. Here you have, what do we have here?
Structural.
Right, structural background variables. So what do you do is you wanted to see which among these factors contribute to the satisfaction of the farmers. Which of the social psychological variables contribute to the satisfaction of the farmers? Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So that is how you do it, as simple as that. We were very consistent at the very start. You know our problem. This is what we wanted to answer. So you do what you call correlational statistics. And you can also do some regression analysis. No, I don't know. Maybe Dr. Kamayama can do this, but you can using this so that you can measure how much do they have to have this in order that they will be satisfied. Which of these factors contribute to the satisfaction of which of these factors is related to satisfaction? What are the how much of these factors that contribute to the satisfaction of farmers? Did you get it?
Yeah.
I hope. Question. Looks
Yes.
easy, but it is not.
Yeah, it's very good.
Okay. So that is how we do it, no? That is an analysis that you are doing. It's very similar to your conceptual framework. They all tied together. They have to be similar. They have to be hanging together. The research question, the measurement, the sampling, and the research design should all be together until the analysis. This is the analysis of your data. Okay? Now, not all survey is good because what do they not like it? They rely on structured questionnaires which are very limited. Sometimes you cannot tell so much. You only ask, how much do you owe? How much time do you spend in farming and so forth? Sometimes it can also be limited. And then too statistical and reduce interesting questions to totally incomprehensible numbers. Statistics should be the servant rather than the master of the survey analyst. So that's what they want. Too much statistics is also not good. And you cannot do survey and statistics in a developing country when you don't have statistical packages. And they're kind of be expensive. Okay? Now we go to the next one, experiment. I just go through it very quickly because you have another hour. Okay. So it all started, this is the story in the experimental research in social psychology. All right? You can read this on your own later on. Okay. So what do? You measure your dependent variable, you administer your experimental stimulus, then you remeasure your dependent variable. Experiment is the same as survey, except that you control your variables more than that of a correlational survey. So what is your control group? You have a control group. Control group is measure dependent variable. I gave you dependent variable. Pre-test to obtain baseline data. And you remeasure the dependent variable using post-test and compare results to the baseline data. So you have done this, at least you have to have two groups. What are these two groups? Experimental and control. Instead of probability sampling, what we use in experiment is randomly assigned. You randomly assign. And then you pre-test people in experimental and control groups. And then treat people in experimental group. And then post-test people in experimental and control. This is the procedure. There is validity. There are two kinds of validity, internal and external. Internal is the outcome of the experiment is due to the treatment, while external is you generalize the results to other people in other settings. Right. Now that I found that these farmers are satisfied, is it also true in other parts of Sudan? Are they also satisfied? That is an external validity. Right. So what we do is, instead of just 2 groups, you make it 4 groups so that you can eliminate issues of validity. So what is the 4 groups? You give them pre-test in the group 1. You give them treatment. Treatment is your IV, in the independent variable, and then you do a post-test, which is a repetition of this. In the group 2, you do pre-test, but no treatment, but you give them post-test. In group 3, no pre-test, just treatment and post-test. In group 4, you have pre-test. You don't have pre-test. You don't have also treatment. Sorry. You don't also have treatment, no treatment, but you have a post-test. Okay? Right. Let's see how it is done. So when you talk about non-experimental design, you call that survey. What's wrong with survey? The comparison group are not clear-cut. But when you do experiment, they are clear-cut, no? Okay. So what is the strength of experimental method? You can isolate the variable. This time, the experimental variable may be amount of sunlight and its impact over time. And you can actually repeat it. Replicability is very high in experimental method. Okay, this is the agricultural scientist who is recording the height, of the experiment. He's doing a field work. He's doing now a survey. But in an experimental design, you have group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. So what do you have? In group 1, you have fertilizer A, you have irrigation 1, and fertilizer B. In field 2, you have fertilizer B, irrigation 2, and fertilizer A. In this one, you have irrigation 2, you have B. They are the same here, they are the same here. They are the same in this aspect. But in field 1, in field 1, they are the same. So field 1 and field 4 are the same. Field 2 and field 3 are the same in terms of their experiment. So in other words, you wanted to compare all 4 groups. So this is the kind of thing that they do, They have one row here, another row here. This is in the Minnesota agriculture. They have one row here, another row here, another. They apply fertilizer A here. They apply fertilizer B here. They apply fertilizer A here. They apply fertilizer B here, and see the effect of it. This is an experimental station in Minnesota. That's what they do. In the international rice research, I'm just very near this. It's just about 1 kilometer away from my house or from UP. Right? They do research on rice. They have what? What do they have? They have greenhouses. They grow rice in greenhouses. They also have data bank. Instead of words, what do they have? Seeds. Seeds that are coming from rice seeds that are coming from different parts of the world. And they freeze them so that they can propagate them later. And this is how it looks like. The temperature is regulated, very, very cold here. It's like a seed bank. They call it a seed bank. This is how it looks like. They are developing what? As I told you yesterday, flood-tolerant rice. See, the flood-tolerant rice have very tall rice stalks, so that even if it's flooded, it won't damage the grains. The grains are not from top to the stalk to the bottom. The grains are only on top, so that even if they are only on top, the grains, so that even if it's flooded, the grains will not be damaged. So these are the experiments that they are doing in the International Rice Research Institute. Now, there are weakness of experimental method. One is artificiality. It's too artificial. No? Maybe it's not true in the real situation. The other one is, I'd like to discuss this one. This is Dr. Davide. This is Dr. Davide, is an agricultural scientist who won the Ramon Magsaysay International Award. He said that you first make farmers rich in order to what? To eliminate poverty. So what makes him a very good person? This is the quotation. He said, to make Philippines prosper, the farmers must be made rich. This conviction of Dr. Romulo Davide is Cebu is a province in the Philippines. He's a Cebuano agriculturist and the Philippine 2012 Ramon Magsaysay awardee. Get support after he received the international award last night in Pasay City. He developed this. He made farmers as scientists. He made farmers scientists, the Farmer Scientist Training Program. He trained farmers to adopt scientific approach to farming. So that's what he did. He called it the Farmer Scientist Training Program. He made farmers scientists by starting with choosing the variety of crops that best suit their land. So he trained them to do that. Farmers learn about new high-yielding varieties of crops that increase the production by more than 100%. They call it the FST program. They also learn about better organic fertilizers such as chicken manure, which is your problem in your country, vermicomposting that were more eco-friendly, effective, and cheaper than chemical-based fertilizer. So that is, he made scientist farmers, and in the end, he said that it may make them rich. And if farmers are rich, then the poor people, the number of poor people in the Philippines will become fewer. So the Farmer Scientist Training Program resulted in savings of more than 50% in production costs. The BIDE taught the farmers the technology of intercropping and integration with animal production. So while you are rice farming, you also raise goats, you also raise sheep or lambs, and raise cows to maximize farm productivity. We call it integrated farming. Selected farmers were trained at the College of Agriculture in Los Baños, and graduates went back as volunteer technicians, teaching other farmers what they learned. So after they have learned what they have learned in the university, they went back and teach other farmers on what they are. So what did they do? These farmers that were trained also established cooperatives and associations so they can organize themselves to work together. That's what they have done. Right. So that is the Farmer Scientist Training Program. You can do that too. And President Abe will be very, very happy if one day Alex Adi can do significant differences among the farmers in South Sudan. You can follow Dr. Davide's work I gave you the website. This is the website. So how do you present your results in a survey? You can do bar graph, line graph, tables, and pie chart. Okay. So this is a sample of pie chart. So 1/3 of the farmers are what? 1/3 of them are landowners. 1/2 of them are renting their land. These farmers in red are actually laborers only. They do not own, they do not rent. They are just laborers. Half are renting, only 1/3 of them are only this portion. 1/8 of them are actually owning their land. The rest are laborers. So that's how you can do it. You can present it in this way, line graph. So you can see Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Philippines, and Vietnam. Among all these countries, you could see that Philippines is second to the lowest in terms of production. So you could see here, this is the yield is in black. The yield gap is in green. And so the area that is harvested is this. So Myanmar is harvesting more than 2.5. Vietnam about 2. Philippines about 1.5 perhaps. And India and so forth. So Myanmar is very good. And this is the yield. It has been it has increased for the Philippines, but the gap between Myanmar, yield gap in Myanmar is the same as the yield gap in the Philippines. But the gap for Vietnam is very high. In other words, they were only here last time, but now they are producing a lot. No? So this is how they started. So you can look at it and interpret it in this manner. Okay, this one, all right, the gap is also not very high. In India, it's also very narrow. So who is the winner in all of this? You do not only look at the bar, the tallest, which is Myanmar, but the one that is what? Doing very well in farming is Vietnam. Vietnam. All right. So as you could see, it provides you a lot of information. Okay, this is a EFP index, which is in sub-Saharan pickup the night, but still lags behind. EFP is total factor productivity. In all developing countries, this is it. Developing. It's already about, in 2011, it's already this high. But you could see sub-Saharan is only here. Sub-Saharan. The comparison for sub-Saharan is not developed countries, developing countries, including the Philippines. You are there in 2011, it's still quite low for sub-Saharan. That's how to present results. I gave you this graph to show you how you can present your results. You can present it in this way. We were talking of agricultural output. This is in sub-Saharan Africa again. In 1961, the agricultural output due to growth was 1.9. Between 1985 to 2010, the growth is 3.3. All right? In the future, hopefully, it will become 6.0. So there is that projection, but it is growing right now. The yellow one is the total factor productivity. They've increased their use of agricultural output, that they also increase their total factor productivity. Here, almost the same inputs, but the factor productivity is very low. In the future, you increase a little bit your input, but you are expecting a lot of total factor productivity. Okay, that ends the presentation for quantitative. You can also present it in tables. You don't have to present it in graph. You can also present it in stable. Double spending, increase average schooling level of farm by 2 years, double irrigated area, and so forth is equal to total productivity in percent. So this is this is also in sub-Saharan Africa. That's about quantitative research design. Did you learn from it? Do you have questions?
No, I am happy because I've got some new skill a lot from your explanation.
All right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what explanation do you want?
No, I say I got a lot of explanation of what you have done. It will help me for my.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I prepared a lot for this one. I cannot teach this everything to you, but you have to help yourself in order to teach yourself. You have to help yourself too. No?
Yeah.
Okay, now we go to quali research. Okay,